good night. You're probably wondering why I dance coming up to this microphone, but I listen to Ellen Degeneres all the time. And she walks in like that, and everybody claps and cheers. I thought, if they can do that for Ellen DeGeneres, maybe they would do it for me, Jean Degenerated. There's an old saying, if you can't laugh at your troubles when you're young, you'll have nothing to laugh about when you're older. The trouble is, I don't know when you're older, but I do know how to prevent feeling old. Don't be with people who take the wind out of your sails. And don't be with people that take the air out of the room. And I just feel, and the other thing is, do not take yourself seriously. And for heaven's sake, laugh at yourself. And enjoy the sense of the ridiculous. And you can imagine that's the only reason I came dressed like this. And it says, get ready for the pearly gates. Now, the thing is, whether you like to feel, nature always steps in and reminds you of your mortality. And when I went the other day to buy a mattress after 30 years, I thought it was time. I could not believe the price. And when I spoke to the salesman, he said, "Madam, they're guaranteed for 20 years. I said, perhaps you have one at 5? Please don't clap too much, it cuts into my time. Now, the other things, I went to buy things over the phone with my Visa card. They ask for your number, and then they ask for your expiry date. And I jokingly over the phone say, oh my God, I could die before my card expires. And the gasp at the other end, I try to reassure them, no, I'm just joking. And when I go to the store to shop, I never buy green bananas. They may not ripen before I can use them. And then, of course, I went to the theater and saw the bucket list. And I kept thinking, you remember that was Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson? And I thought, wonder what I would put on. Well, you know, there were two old codgers that wanted to do things they hadn't done when they were young, and they were going to do them before they died. And I thought, what is head of my bucket list? And I thought, I love to hear people laugh. Maybe I could be a stand-up comic. Well, I had two problems. I'd need the material, and I'd have to perform soon while I could still stand up. And so I didn't keep a diary, but I did keep a journal. And I wrote down all the funny things that happened to me from high school on. And every time I read them, I get this lovely feeling of well-being. Like, you know now, if you laugh, the right juices flow all the way through here and go up to your brain and give you a feeling of well-being. So I'd just like to share a couple, I can't see the time, but whatever my time is. A friend of my son's was in Saudi Arabia for 10 years. And when he came back, somebody asked him to bring a big vase, a valuable vase, paid first class for him. And when he said to them, well, how are they going to know me when I get to Montreal? And they said, they'll find you. And when he got to Montreal, there's a woman in full regalia with a big sign. And the sign said, looking for Canadian Dick. And as Richard tells the story, 4 men got to her before he did. Now please, my time. I had to, a friend of mine was very, very sick, and she was in the hospital. I knew she'd had a serious operation. But when I got there, she looked very depressed. She said, my operation was a success, but the scar tissue has developed. Unless I can get rid of that, unless I can pass air or fart, they're going to have to operate again. And I thought, oh dear. And then I remembered a poem that we used to say at McGill 68 years ago, and it went like this. There was a young lady from Sparta who was an excellent farter. She could fart anything from God Save the King to Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. She could do her gravata with staccato, along with an English castrata. She could boom from her ass, box B minor mass, with counterpoint from La Traviata. You know what happened. She really, really laughed, and then you know. She passed there and she farted, and then we joined in a chorus of hallelujah. I don't know if I have enough time for this next one, but the election just took place, as you know, in Manitoba. And I went to the advanced poll because I was going to be there. And of course, at the advanced poll, you have people with canes and walkers and wheelchairs. And the man in front of me had 2 canes. And I said, this is very painful for you to have to do this. And he said, in a true story, he said, and it's painful, but my wife is suffering more than me. She was getting dressed to come to vote. She has terrible hemorrhoids. And she, instead of putting on preparation H, she put on A535. Now he said, that's painful. And you know, we laughed. We shouldn't have, but we did. A man behind me said, he said, I have a joke. What happens when the Inuits sit on the ice? They get instant Polaroids. Now, when you're older, you look at the crowd and you say you should be imparting some wisdom to them. So I have a little philosophical poem. When things go wrong, and they usually will, when the road ahead is all uphill, when your funds are low, and when your funds are low and your something is high, you'd like to smile, but you can only cry. When you really feel it's time to quit, don't come to me because I don't give a shit. I'd just like to thank you for letting me to eliminate one of the items on my bucket list. And also, I like to feel laughter's so important in that expression, I could have died laughing. I hope I do. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Keep it going for Gene Morrison. Gene. Darling.
Brad is so handsome. He's got dimples. And you know, it's incredible. I just love men with dimples. And I can't even I'm too old to be a cougar. Isn't that sad?
I thought the night was going downhill, but it's looking up now. Let's hear from our judges. Gene? Ace Burpee.
Well, dick and fart jokes, not what I expected, not gonna lie. Really threw me for a loop. I think poor Marnie thought she was at high school again listening to those. Those were awesome. I like how some people laughed at the pearly gates reference or whatever. Others, because that term hasn't been used to talk about death for 20 years. Others are like, 60. Pearly gates, that by Green Gates? What is that? It's so weird. My grandmother is 91 and now she seems like a boring old lady. I'm going to ask her to step her game up. The applause gag was good. The saying, that's very good. When you guys start clapping for the joke and you say your time's limited, very good. And it also seemed part motivational speaking as well. It was good. We all benefited from that. And the dancing was both weird and awesome at the beginning as well. It was all great.
All right, thank you, Ace. Big Daddy Taz.
I love you, Gene. I think you're the sweetest thing ever to step on stage, and I think that you
Where were you? Like, I don't know,
It's the
68
best
years
offer
ago?
I've had in 40 years.
Meet me afterwards. I'll bring the A535. Gene, you had me laughing out of my chair at the Free Press Cafe. The crowd loves you. You bring something to the stage that nobody else in this contest can bring. And where were you 60 years ago, my dear? I swear, you have the potential of this bucket list that you want to do. You could be huge, huge, huge.
All
right. Thank you, Tassie.
She's in her late 30s.
And because is it wrong that I'm getting a little turned on by Gene? Is that? The answer is yes. Ryan.
I would have liked it a bit more if I didn't know that you weren't an old lady, but two midgets in an old lady costume. J'accuse.
Ryan
Anyhow.
needs Ritalin.
And more rye. Anyhow, Gene, you were absolutely fantastic. You're adorable. Your crowd reaction was really high. I mean, yeah, you're just up there. I guess, in terms of storytelling, a lot of the time you look for LPM, but you had big payoffs at the end of your laughs. I should say LPM is laughs per minute. So you want to jam-pack those stories full of things, but the points you hit at the end were really selling points.
Okay, laugh per minute. I'll tell you straight out. That's old school. What it is at the end of the crowd. Crowd, did you like Jean? Did you love her?
Hey. All right. Everything I said has no relevance.
Excellent. Let's hear it one more time. Gene Morrison.